Hello, and welcome to the milestone 200th episode of 5 Minutes with Fried. I'm your host, Michael Fried. I'm a litigation partner in the matrimonial and family law firm of Berkman, Botker, Newman, and Shine, with offices in New York City, Westchester, and Long Island. And because it's a milestone 200th episode, I have a very special guest today. I want to introduce everyone to my daughter, Samantha Fried. So, Samantha, welcome to 5 Minutes with Fried.
Thank you for having me.
So, Samantha, you graduated from SUNY New Paltz in May of 2022 with a BFA in painting. What are you doing right now?
Well, I do a lot of things right now. In my day job, I work for a professional organizing company called Seriatim, and I work both in the field with clients at their homes and behind the scenes doing administrative work. And I also work at a vintage shop on Long Island called Dynamite Vintage. But first and foremost, I'm an artist. As you said, I have a degree in painting. My painting practice is mostly in oil paints, and I focus on a theme that I like to call secondhand nostalgia. So I work mostly from an archive of my own family's photos from the 60s and 70s mostly. And I'm very interested in the universality of memory, whereas if I have a photo of my grandmother, if I crop it in, you might look at it and think about your own family. And even if it's not someone you know specifically, you understand what's going on and you can connect it to your own life. So that theme is kind of present throughout all of my work, my painting specifically. And when I'm not painting, I do lots of other things, mostly crochet. I crochet the shirt I'm wearing right now. I make a lot of clothing and bags, and I have done punch needle accessories as well, and I make collages, kind of a jack of all trades. And I took all of that and 2 summers ago began selling my work under the name So Fried Art. I do markets in Long Beach on Long Island in the summers from May to October, and I love having a community like that, where a place that I can go and sell my work and connect with people who are interested in it.
So, Samantha, anyone who knows you have a deep affinity for everything 1960s, music, art, pop culture. What inspired you to become such a passionate fan of the 1960s?
I think it's always kind of been in my life, but I only really dove into the obsession a few years ago because I grew up, I mean, the music that I was raised on, Bruce Springsteen and the Beatles one CD, like that was my entire childhood. And I come from a family where everything is just saved and passed down. So I've grown up wearing vintage clothing and my mom's sweaters from the 80s and my grandmother's dresses from the 70s. And as I got older, I began researching more about the era, the time period, and seeking out more of the music, the television shows, the movies, finding vintage clothes on my own that are not just from my grandmother's house, and kind of learning about what the world was like at that time and how that all kind of comes together through the music and culture and fashion and everything that was popular in that time. I think it's a fascinating decade.
So now, Samantha, I want to go back to your selling of your merchandise. What do you think is the biggest challenge that you face in selling your merchandise?
I think the biggest challenge is probably finding an audience, especially when you're someone like me who prefers to be out in the world, like at a table at a market, instead of just posting things online for people to buy off Etsy, having all of your works displayed out in front of you and just anyone coming up to see it, there's gonna be people who don't like it, who don't understand it, who think it's overpriced, who don't understand the quality of handmade work versus things that you could buy at any big box store. But you'll always have the people who come up to you and they go, "Oh my God, I love this. This is exactly something that I'd want in my home, something I'd want to wear," and they appreciate the craftsmanship that goes into it. So finding an audience, it's definitely always a challenge, but when you are able to connect with the people who do love your work, it is a very special feeling.
That's great. So now, Samantha, what would be the best way for somebody who's interested in purchasing your merchandise? What would be the best way for them to get into contact with you?
Right now, you can email me at sofriedart@gmail.com, or I am on Instagram at sofried.art. And that is the best way to get in touch with me to see my work.
Perfect. So now, Samantha Fried, we've now come to the most important part of our show, and that happens to be the question of the week.
All right.
So, Samantha Fried, this is your question of the week. You are able to transport back into a time machine and attend any concert from the 1960s. What would you attend and why?
There are so many things that I could say. I am actually going to pick a concert from the 70s. It's kind of an obscure one. There's lots of bigger ones that I would love to go to, of course, Woodstock, Monterey Pop, but there is one show. It was a Michael Nesmith concert in London, November of 1975. And I'm a huge Monkees fan, and Michael Nesmith is my favorite Monkee, so I love his solo work. And this is just a really interesting concert he did. It's two sets. The first set is with a full band. The second set is just him and his guitar. But the band from the first set had only met the day before the show. So they only had about 24 hours of rehearsal. It was their first time playing together and playing his music. And to hear how they perform his best works, it's just so interesting. And of course, his solo set is incredible. It's all of his best songs. And he makes lots of jokes throughout the show, and it's just one of his best, I think. I listen to it all the time.
Well, I got to tell you, Samantha, that is an incredible answer. And Samantha Fried, you have said it all. You are selling crochet items one day at a time. And I want to thank you for being a wonderful guest on the 200th episode of 5 Minutes with Fried.
All right, thank you.